We find ourselves suspended in the architecture of a perpetual, high-speed machine, an intricate and endlessly grinding clockwork mechanism that demands our constant attention, our unceasing labor, and our absolute surrender to its internal rhythm. If we are honest, if we truly pause in the quietude that exists for a fleeting moment before the morning demands begin to pull at the hem of our consciousness, we can feel the fundamental misalignment. It is not a sudden breaking, but a gradual, subtle wearing down of the gears. We wake up to the hum of a world that is already moving, a world that expects us to be perfectly calibrated, perfectly responsive, and perfectly productive from the very first breath of the day. There is an atmospheric pressure to this existence, a weight that settles into the small of the back, into the space between the shoulder blades, and into the very center of the chest. We are living as if our worth is contingent upon the frictionless efficiency of our performance, as if the slightest sound of grinding gears, the slightest moment of fatigue, of doubt, or of human hesitation is a technical disaster that must be hidden away. Observe the way we move through these hours. We are the architects of our own internal pressure, the ones who decide, in a reflexive surge of anxiety, that we must be faster, that we must be sharper, that we must be entirely devoid of the messiness that defines the human experience. We carry this demand like a heavy, unseen garment. It constricts the ribcage, it narrows the scope of our vision to the next deadline, the next achievement, the next validation. We have forgotten that we are not the machine. We are the awareness that observes the machine. Yet we have become so identified with the labor, so enamored with the output, that we have allowed the mechanics of the world to dictate the melody of our soul. And the melody is becoming increasingly discordant. It is a song of struggle, played on an instrument that was meant for resonance, not for the grueling labor of sustained industrial-grade friction. We feel this misalignment in the most basic, somatic language of our daily lives. Think of the way your jaw locks when you are confronted with a task that feels insurmountable, or a communication that feels misaligned with your own truth. It is a reflex, a primal, ancient bracing against an environment that demands more than we feel capable of giving. Think of the shallow, jagged rhythm of your breath as you navigate the noise of a city that never pauses. The way you hold your breath as you move from one demand to the next, never quite allowing the air to reach the depths of the body. Never quite allowing the stillness to settle into the marrow. We are constantly in a state of high alert, a state of protective rigidity that we have mistaken for stability. We believe that if we hold on tight enough, if we control the levers and pulleys of our daily existence with enough precision, we can finally stop the internal grinding. But the grinding is not coming from the outside world. It is coming from our own resistance to the natural flow of our experience. We are like a watch whose inner springs have been wound past their limit. Every interaction, every minor inconvenience, every small, unavoidable hiccup in our plans becomes a source of intense heat. We interpret these small frictions as threats to the structural integrity of our lives. When a plan fails, we don't just see it as a shift in direction, we see it as a failure of our own internal mechanism. We fire the second arrow of self-judgment, asking ourselves why we are so flawed, why we cannot simply function with the flawless precision we see in the projections of others. This is the source of the thermal buildup. The machine is not overheating because the world is too hard. The machine is overheating because we are refusing to acknowledge the friction as an essential, authentic component of the operation. We are demanding that the mechanism work in a vacuum, without the resistance that allows for genuine movement. We need to sit with this realization. We need to feel the heat for what it is, not as a crisis to be solved, but as a diagnostic. The tension in your shoulders is a message. The tightness in your throat is a message. The persistent, low-level anxiety that greets you in the morning is a message. It is telling you that you are fighting the reality of your own existence. It is telling you that you are trying to silence the sound of the friction, because you have been taught that the friction is a flaw. But what if the friction is not a flaw? What if the struggle, the difficulty, the moment of confusion, and the feeling of being overwhelmed are not bugs in the system, but the very sounds that make your specific life a melody rather than a static, monotonous noise? What if your capacity to feel the friction is proof that you are still alive, still sensitive, and still capable of resonant, authentic experience? Consider the alternative. Imagine a life without friction. Imagine a life where every action was automated, every desire immediately satisfied, every challenge perfectly mitigated. It would be a life of absolute, sterile silence. It would be a life without the spark of discovery, without the depth of hard-won wisdom, and without the texture of true human interaction. We are not designed for that silence. We are designed for the vibration. We are designed for the oscillation between the effort and the rest, between the challenge and the overcoming, between the dissonance and the resolution. And the fact that you are experiencing this grinding, this heat, and this internal resistance is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that you are a complex, living system that is currently trying to integrate the demands of a modern existence with the ancient, organic rhythm of your own human soul. We are moving through the world with our senses turned inward, constantly checking for the next sign of misalignment. We spend so much energy on this internal monitoring that we have lost the ability to simply look out at the world and see it for what it is. We view the world through the filter of our own anticipated suffering. We assume that the traffic will be bad, that the email will be difficult, that the conversation will be draining. And because we expect the friction, we generate the friction before we even encounter it. We are running a simulation of resistance in our minds, and we are paying the somatic price for that simulation in the present moment. We are exhausting ourselves in the arena of our own thoughts, leaving very little vitality for the actual, lived experience of the day. Look at the way we use our hands. They are tools of engagement, yet we use them to build walls. Look at the way we use our minds. They are tools of insight, yet we use them to build justifications. Look at the way we use our hearts. They are tools of connection, yet we use them to hold on to the wounds of the past. We are operating in a state of inverted utility, using our most precious, creative energies to sustain the very friction that keeps us from our own authentic rhythm. But the inversion is not permanent. It is a habit, and habits can be deconstructed. We can learn to look at our thoughts without needing to believe them. We can learn to feel our sensations without needing to judge them. We can learn to witness the grinding of the gears without needing to identify with the machine. This is the bridge we are building. We are moving from the state of the exhausted performer to the state of the conscious musician. We are going to learn how to listen to the grinding of our own lives with the ear of an expert. Someone who knows that the sound of the friction is just another frequency, just another note in the symphony of the day. We are going to stop trying to force the mechanism to be silent and start learning how to calibrate it, how to find the harmonic balance that allows us to move with our lives instead of against them. We are going to stop the frantic, high-speed adjustment and start the slow, deep process of alignment. We are going to become the stewards of our own existence, the ones who know when to slow down, when to deepen the breath, and when to let the heat pass through without needing to build a wall around it. As you sit with this, notice the quality of the silence that begins to form in the space around you. It is a different kind of silence than the one you usually cultivate. It is not the silence of suppression, it is the silence of inclusion. It is a silence that can hold the sound of your own heart beating, the sound of your own breath, and even the sound of the internal grinding, all without needing to fix a single thing. This is the silence of the witness. This is the silence that allows you to be fully present, fully aware, and fully awake in the midst of your own complicated and imperfect life. You are entering into this silence now. You are feeling the relief of finally letting the gears turn, of finally allowing the machine to be a machine, while you, the awareness, remain the steady, observing center. This is the beginning of the restoration. We are not here to dismantle the machine that is a fantasy of the ego that thinks it can escape its own life. We are here to learn how to inhabit it with a different quality of awareness. We are here to learn how to be the driver of a vehicle that we previously thought was driving us. And the first step of this driving is the simple, radical act of listening. Listen to the friction. Listen to it with a compassionate, non-judgmental curiosity. Listen to it as if it were a voice you had been ignoring for years. A voice that has something vital to tell you about who you are and where you are going. When you listen in this way, the grinding stops being a threat and starts being a signal. It starts being a rhythm. It starts being a part of your own living music. We are ready to look at this music. We are ready to listen to the specific, unique patterns of our own internal dissonance. We are ready to stop fearing the heat and start understanding the source of the fire. We are ready to step out of the state of reaction and into the state of conscious alignment. This is the journey of a lifetime, but it begins in this moment, with this breath, and with the courage to simply be with what is. We are the witnesses of our own existence, and we are ready to listen, we are ready to learn, and we are ready to play the song that is ours to play, friction, heat and all. Observe the way the light touches the surfaces around you. Observe the way the sounds of the world rise and fall. None of this is under your control, yet none of it is a threat to your existence. You are a part of this unfolding. You are a note in this grand, chaotic, and beautiful symphony. And the more you can lean into the truth of that belonging, the more the internal grinding will begin to lose its edge. You will find that you are not so much a machine struggling against the world, but a part of the world that is finally learning to move in harmony with its own internal and external environment. You are coming home to yourself. You are coming home to the resonance, and you are, at last, ready to be the music that you were always meant to be. The stillness that is deepening within you now is the first true indication that the tuning has begun. It is the stillness that arises when you stop trying to be perfect and start being present. It is the stillness that follows the realization that you are not a flaw in the system, but an essential part of the design. You have been carrying the weight of an entire auditorium on your shoulders, believing that if you were to drop it, the music would stop. But the music never stops. The music is the truth of existence itself, and it is playing through you, around you, and as you, in every single precious moment. You are the instrument, and the instrument is good. The instrument is capable of everything you need it to do. You only need to learn how to play it, how to tune it, and how to trust the song that is trying to emerge. There is a sense of immense potential in this room, a sense that we are standing at the edge of a new way of being. The old grinding habits are still there, the old tight patterns are still in the muscles, but the orientation has shifted. You are no longer looking for the exit, you are looking for the center. You are no longer trying to outrun your life, you are trying to inhabit it. And that is the most radical, the most transformative, and the most beautiful shift a human being can make. You are standing in the center of your own living orchestra, and you are ready to listen to the truth of the sound. You are ready to acknowledge the off notes. You are ready to embrace the dissonance, and you are ready to weave the friction into the tapestry of your own unique and magnificent melody. Let the final residues of your performance anxiety fall away. Let the need to be the conductor of an imaginary show dissolve. Let the expectation that life should be a smooth, frictionless event evaporate like mist in the morning sun. You are here to experience the friction, You are here to navigate the heat. You are here to become the master of your own internal music, and you are ready. The tuning is over, and the performance is not beginning. The performance is already happening, and it has been happening your entire life. You are the music, and the music is true, and it is yours. How does it feel to finally, truly, let the sound of your own life be heard, even when the notes are messy, even when the rhythm is unpredictable, and even when the song is entirely, completely, and wonderfully your own? We are walking into this exploration not with the goal of achieving a state of artificial silence, but with the goal of achieving a state of harmonic depth. We are going to find that the very parts of ourselves we have worked so hard to hide, the parts that are vulnerable, the parts that are insecure, the parts that are frightened, are the very parts that possess the most resonance. They are the strings that have been worn thin by the experience of living, and because they are thin, they are capable of playing the highest, the most delicate, and the most profoundly moving notes of our existence. We are going to learn how to play these notes. We are going to learn how to show them to the world, how to integrate them into our lives, and how to turn our perceived failures into the very foundation of our own unique and undeniable truth. There is no need to rush. There is no need to force the melody. There is no need to demand that the world responds to our sound. We are learning the discipline of the player, and the first lesson is patience. We are learning how to wait for the note, how to allow the silence to do its work, and how to respect the space that exists between the beats. We are learning that the music is not just the sound we make, but the silence we allow and the presence we bring to every single fleeting encounter. We are ready to learn this. We are ready to be the ones who are finally, truly, listening to the song that is being played through our own unique and beautiful existence. As the awareness settles deeper, notice the feeling of the breath. It is the most faithful metronome of your soul. It is the steady, reliable, and unceasing rhythm that connects you to the entire history of your own human struggle and the entire potential of your own human transcendence. It is always there, it is always ready, and it is always playing the truth of the present moment. Trust the breath. Lean into the breath, and let the breath be the foundation upon which you build the rest of your life. You are not a machine, you are not a project, you are not a performance. You are the breath, you are the rhythm, and you are the resonance. You are the symphony, and the symphony is beginning to sound even now in the quiet, steady, and perfect reality of your own authentic presence. The path forward is unwritten. We have set aside the blueprints, we have abandoned the stages, and we are standing in the wide open and beautiful auditorium of the present moment. We are ready to walk into the world, not as the performers of a life, but as the participants in a mystery. We are ready to feel the friction, to navigate the heat, and to find the harmony in the middle of it all. We are ready to be the musicians we were always meant to be. And as we continue to move, as we continue to live, and as we continue to listen, we will find that the dissonance was never our enemy, it was our teacher. It was the teacher that taught us how to play, how to tune, and how to find our own unique and magnificent voice in the chorus of the world. And now, as you prepare to move back into the flow of your daily life, take a moment to really feel the space you are currently inhabiting. Feel the weight of your body, the flow of your breath, and the openness of your own awareness. This is the space where the symphony resides. This is the space where you can always return, no matter how loud the world gets, no matter how much the internal grinding seems to increase, and no matter how much you might feel like you are losing the thread of your own authentic melody. This is your foundation. This is your truth, and it is waiting for you always in the quiet, steady, and perfect reality of the present moment. What if you were to look at your life today, not as a project to be completed, but as an instrument to be played? And what if you were to allow yourself the grace to play the wrong note? knowing that the wrong note is just as necessary for the song as the right one. Because without the dissonance, there could be no true and lasting harmony. We find ourselves embedded in a culture of the high-velocity furnace, a place where the ego thrives on the constant friction of ambition and the relentless pursuit of an idealized tomorrow. Think of the individual who lives in this space, the professional, who believes that their worth is measured by the sheer volume of their output, the parent who feels that every waking moment must be a masterclass in optimization, or the seeker who believes that if they could just refine their routines enough, they would finally reach a state of permanent, unshakable peace. This person is the architect of the crucible, the one who meticulously builds the walls of the furnace, believing that the heat is a necessary byproduct of their importance. Yet, when we look closer at this archetypal figure, we see the true cost of this endeavor. We see the body reacting with a profound, primitive protest against the constant artificial pressure. Observe the physical manifestations of this heated ego. It is not merely a mental state, it is a somatic reality. When the frenetic performer encounters a reality that does not conform to their internal blueprint, the entire nervous system goes into a state of acute high-frequency alarm. The jaw locks, not as a symbol of strength, but as a reflex to suppress the raw, honest expression of frustration. The muscles of the neck and upper back harden, creating a physical bridge of tension that effectively cuts off the fluid, intuitive wisdom of the heart from the analytical, demanding logic of the mind. This is the physiological signature of the crucible. A body that is constantly braced, perpetually waiting for the next impact, and hopelessly depleted by the effort of holding itself together. We perceive this heat as irritation, but beneath that thin, angry surface lies a much deeper, more complex layer of fear. We fear that if we lower the temperature, if we soften the rigidity of our daily performances, we will simply disappear. We have confused our busyness with our existence. We believe that if we are not burning, we are not living. This is the ultimate, most insidious trap of the modern ego. It uses the language of excellence, of progress, and of self-actualization to justify a state of chronic internal warfare. We are like an engine running at the red line, the oil thinning, the gears grinding, all while we stare at the dashboard, desperate to convince ourselves that we are actually moving forward. But we are not moving. We are merely burning. We are consuming our own vitality, our own capacity for joy, and our own innate, organic rhythm to maintain a machine that was never meant to sustain such intensity. The psychological friction here is a product of a deep-seated, systemic misunderstanding. We view the crucible as an obstacle that must be overcome by applying even more pressure. When we feel overwhelmed, we do not pause, we optimize. When we feel the heat of failure, we do not investigate the source, we redouble our efforts. We are constantly attempting to solve a crisis of presence with a strategy of performance. This creates a feedback loop of misery, where the effort to fix the discomfort only serves to increase the heat. We are caught in a cycle of reactive desperation, where every action is a movement of panic rather than a gesture of wisdom. And because we are so identified with the role of the performer, we are terrified to stop. We think that if we stop the frantic labor, the world will see us for what we are, a collection of fears and vulnerabilities, and that this would be the ultimate, final collapse. But what if we were to view this irritation not as a failure, but as a diagnostic tool? What if the burning in your stomach, the tension in your shoulders, and the racing of your mind were actually the body's way of telling you that you are not in alignment with your own nature? When the blacksmith heats the iron, he knows that the metal must be malleable to be shaped. But he also knows that if he leaves it in the fire too long, the metal will lose its structural integrity and become brittle. We are living in a state of permanent heat, and we are becoming brittle. We are losing our ability to adapt, to bend, to respond with grace. We have become rigid in our pursuit of control, and because we are rigid, we are prone to breaking under the smallest pressures. Look at how we respond to the inevitable small disruptions of our day. A phone call that doesn't go our way, a delay in traffic, a colleague who doesn't meet our expectations are the first arrows, the small, unavoidable frictions of living in a world of other people and unpredictable events in a state of harmonic equilibrium. These disruptions are simply waves passing through a large calm body of water. They ripple, they disappear, and the surface remains essentially undisturbed. But when we are living in the crucible, every disruption is a tectonic event. We take the first arrow and we immediately fire the second, the internal commentary that tells us this disruption is a personal affront, a threat to our identity, or a sign that we are falling behind. This second arrow is the true source of our suffering. It is the story we tell ourselves, the narrative of victimization, the demand that the world be different than it actually is. This is the alchemy we must begin to master. We must learn to catch the second arrow before it hits. We must learn to recognize the narrative of the crucible for what it is: a set of stories, a series of mental projections, a collection of habits that we have mistaken for the truth of our own being. When the heat rises, when you feel the familiar surge of frustration, can you pause? Can you sit with the sensation of the heat without rushing to fix it, to justify it, or to vent it? Can you simply notice that the body is experiencing a surge of energy, and that this energy in and of itself is neutral? It is not bad. It is not wrong. It is just intensity. By observing the intensity without the narrative, you begin to change the nature of the fire. You are no longer the victim of the heat, you are the observer of it. This is a fundamental shift in consciousness. We are moving away from being the fuel and the fire, and we are becoming the furnace itself, fast, stable, and capable of containing the intensity without being damaged by it. This is not a path of apathy. We are not trying to become indifferent to the world. On the contrary, we are trying to become fully, radically present to it. We are trying to cultivate a level of awareness that is deep enough to encompass the intensity of our experience without needing to contract in response. This is the definition of true patience. It is not the passive endurance of something unpleasant. It is the active cultivation of an internal state that is so robust, so rooted in the present, that it can hold the heat of the world without losing its own cool. Consider the way we hold on to our goals. We often hold them like a bird, with such a tight, frantic grip that we crush the very thing we are trying to protect. We are so afraid that if we don't hold on, we will fail, that we don't realize our grip is the primary source of our anxiety. To transmute this, we must learn to hold our goals, our ambitions, and our desires with an open palm. We must learn to act with purpose, to work with vigor, to pursue our path with all our heart, but to do so without the attachment to the outcome that fuels the fire of our impatience. When we let go of the demand that reality be a certain way, we find that we have so much more energy to dedicate to the act of living itself. We are no longer wasting our vitality on the resistance, we are investing it in the process. This shift in relationship to our own ego is the most difficult, yet the most essential part of the practice. We have identified so strongly with the doer, the one who gets things done, the one who overcomes, the one who wins, that we are afraid of the being who resides beneath that surface. We are afraid that if we stop doing, we will cease to exist. But look at the evidence of your own life. Who is the one who notices the busyness? Who is the one who feels the tension? Who is the one who is reading these words right now? It is not the doer, it is the witness. The witness is the one who remains when the busyness falls away, and the witness is, by its very nature, perfectly still. It is not burned by the fire because it is not identified with the metal. It is the awareness that allows the heat to be felt, the observer who watches the drama of the ego without getting caught in the script. As you cultivate this witness, You will notice that the intensity of your life does not necessarily decrease. The demands of your job, the complexities of your relationships, and the challenges of the world will likely continue. But your response to them will be radically transformed. You will no longer be cooked by the heat of your own resistance. You will be able to move through the day with a sense of fluid resilience, responding to the intensity with the grace of someone who knows that they are not the problem. You will be able to speak your truth without the need to be aggressive. You will be able to set boundaries without the need to be defensive. You will be able to experience success without the need to be proud, and failure without the need to be ashamed. You will be standing in the center of the crucible, and you will be utterly, completely, and serenely at home. We have spent so long identifying with the friction that we have forgotten the space in which the friction occurs. Think of a musical instrument. The sound is created by the vibration of the strings, the tension of the instrument, and the force of the player. But the music exists in the space of the auditorium. It does not exist inside the instrument. The instrument is merely the vehicle for the sound. We are the same. We are the space, the auditorium, the capacity for experience. We have spent so much time identifying with the vibrating strings, with the tension, with the struggle to produce the perfect note, that we have forgotten we are the space that holds the entire symphony. When we remember our true nature, the struggle to produce the note begins to fade. We are no longer trying to force the music out of a closed, tight, and tense system. We are allowing the music to arise from a space of openness and possibility. This is the alchemy of the present. It is the process of returning, again and again, to the awareness of the space. Whenever you feel the heat rising, whenever you feel the grip of the second arrow, stop. Take a breath. Feel the physical sensation of the heat in your body, the tightening, the pulsing, the burning. And then intentionally expand your awareness. Imagine that your awareness is not confined to the tightness, but that it surrounds it, that it is vast, and that it is capable of containing the discomfort without being changed by it. This is the practice of the crucible. It is the practice of being bigger than your own pain. It is the practice of realizing that you are the vessel, not the contents. And when you are the vessel, you can hold anything. You can hold the joy, you can hold the sorrow, you can hold the frustration, and you can hold the success, and none of them will leave a mark. This requires a level of honesty that we are often unprepared to offer ourselves. We prefer to blame the world, to blame our circumstances, or to blame our own lack of discipline, because these are easier to manage than the truth. The truth is that we are the ones who are creating the friction. We are the ones who are clinging to the illusion of control. We are the ones who are firing the second arrow. To accept this is not a cause for shame, it is a cause for profound liberation. If we are the ones creating the problem, we are the ones who have the power to stop it. This is the most empowering realization an individual can reach. We are not trapped in a life of suffering by external forces, we are living in a self-constructed cage of our own resistance. And the door to that cage has never been locked. It was only closed because we were holding the handle from the inside. As we move deeper into this exploration, we must confront the fear of the unknown. We are used to the heat of our lives, even when it is painful, it is familiar, it is predictable. We know how to operate in a state of high-functioning panic. It is the currency of our time. But what happens if we step into the cool, silent, unknown space of being? What happens if we stop being the architects of our own pressure? We fear that we will lose our edge, that we will become lazy, that we will stop achieving, that we will fade into obscurity. This is the last stand of the ego, the final, desperate argument of the architect. But it is a lie. When we operate from a place of presence, our actions become more effective, not less. We are not paralyzed by the internal chatter of doubt and fear. We are not dissipated by the heat of our own reactivity. We are focused, we are aligned, and we are acting from a place of clarity that is far more powerful than the reactive intensity of the ego. The energy you have been using to maintain the furnace is immense. It is the energy of 1,000 small internal conflicts. It is the energy of 1,000 small daily judgments. When you stop using that energy to fight with reality, you will find that you have a vast untapped reserve of vitality available to you. You will be able to apply this energy to your work, to your relationships, and to your personal growth with a precision and a depth that you have never known before. You will find that you are more productive, more creative, and more resilient. You will find that you are actually becoming the person you always wanted to be, not by building an image, but by discovering the essence that was hidden beneath the heat. This is the transition from the base metal to the gold. It is not a change in substance. It is a change in quality. It is the process of removing the impurities of our own conditioning, the distortions of our own ego, and the stories that we have told ourselves about who we are and what we need. It is the process of becoming more truly, more authentically, and more essentially ourselves. It is a journey of uncovering, not of adding. We are taking away the parts of us that are not real, the parts that were borrowed from our culture, from our families, and from our own fears. And what remains when we have stripped it all away? What remains is the gold. What remains is the truth of our own, unconditioned and radiant presence. As we contemplate this, let us consider the way we interact with others. We often treat the people in our lives as variables in our own personal and frantic equation of control. We want them to be a certain way, to react a certain way, to support us in a certain way. And when they don't, we feel the heat. We experience the friction. We fire the second arrow. But what if we were to treat the people in our lives as fellow travelers in the same intense crucible? What if we were to recognize that they too are struggling with the heat, that they too are trying to maintain their own sense of self, and that they too are operating from a place of fear? If we can recognize the shared nature of our struggle, the heat of our frustration is instantly replaced by a deep, compassionate sense of connection. We are all in this furnace together, we are all being refined, and we are all, in our own way, reaching for the same cool and quiet reality of peace. This changes the entire tone of our existence. It moves us from a posture of competition to a posture of cooperation. It moves us from a state of me against the world to a state of me and the world in constant, unfolding dance. We are no longer trying to dominate our environment. We are trying to harmonize with it. We are no longer trying to force the outcome. We are trying to participate in the process. We are no longer trying to control the heat. We are learning how to use it. This is the alchemy of the heart. It is the process of turning our individual, separate, and suffering selves into a part of a larger, more inclusive, and more harmonious whole. And in this whole, there is no more friction, because there is no more ego trying to define itself against the world. There is only the flow of existence, and we are the participants in that flow. Observe how your breath is moving now. Has it changed since we began? Is it slightly deeper? Is it slightly softer? This is the body acknowledging the truth of what we are discussing. The body knows. The nervous system is recognizing the potential for a different way of being. It is beginning to trust that it is safe to relax, that it is safe to be present, and that it is safe to let go of the rigid, protective posture that has served us for so long. This is the beginning of the return. It is the process of coming back to ourselves, of settling into the deep, quiet center of our own being, and of realizing that the peace we were searching for in the future has been here, beneath the heat, all along. The journey into the crucible is the journey into the depths of our own humanity. It is the most challenging, the most rewarding, and the most essential journey we will ever take. We are stripping away the illusions. We are dismantling the defenses, and we are opening ourselves to the raw, unfiltered truth of the present. And as we do this, we find that we are becoming something that we never thought possible. We are becoming whole. We are becoming integrated. We are becoming clear. We are becoming the gold, and the world, which once looked like a place of struggle and heat, is now beginning to look like a place of infinite possibility, a place where we are finally free to be the people we were always meant to be. We stand in the fire, but we are not consumed. We stand in the noise, but we are not distracted. We stand in the struggle, but we are not defeated. We have found the alchemy of the heart, the secret of the transmutation, and the key to the crucible. We are no longer the victims of the heat, we are the masters of our own inner alchemy. And from this place of stillness, from this place of clarity, from this place of equilibrium, we can finally begin to see the world as it truly is, and we can finally begin to live the life that is truly ours. The furnace is still there, the heat is still real, but we are no longer afraid. We are no longer burning, we are the gold, and the gold is radiant, the gold is enduring, and the gold is ready for whatever comes next. This is not a state of perfection, but a state of presence. It is the ability to show up to the crucible day after day, and to bring the same steady and compassionate attention to whatever arises. It is the capacity to hold the tension, to feel the heat, to notice the second arrow, and to choose, over and over, the path of presence rather than the path of resistance. It is a practice, a discipline, and a way of living. It is the ultimate expression of the human potential, and as you walk forward, let the realization of your own inner alchemy be the foundation of everything you do. You are not a machine. You are a living, breathing, and unfolding miracle, and you have the power to turn even the most difficult and heated situations into the catalysts for your own profound growth. The road ahead is unwritten. We have dismantled the blueprints, and we have left the ruins of our old, rigid identities behind. We are standing in the wide, open, and beautiful landscape of the present moment, and we are free to go wherever our presence leads us. The heat of the world may rise, but we have the cooling, steadying, and refining power of our own inner gold. We have the practice, we have the perspective, and we have the capacity to live in a way that is not defined by our struggles, but by the depth of our awareness and the quality of our surrender. We are ready. The crucible is not a place of burning, it is a place of becoming, and we are becoming exactly what we are: pure, radiant, and perfectly at peace. We are reaching the stage where we must take this understanding and ground it in our actual lives. It is not enough to talk about alchemy, we must be the alchemists. We must take the materials of our daily struggles, the annoyances, the disappointments, the challenges, and the friction. We must put them into the furnace of our awareness, not to destroy them, but to refine them. We must learn to sit with our irritation until it transforms into patience. We must learn to sit with our fear until it transforms into courage. We must learn to sit with our anger until it transforms into clarity. We are the agents of our own transformation, and the crucible is the only place where the transformation can occur. Think of your life as a practice room, a place where you are constantly being presented with the exact conditions you need to refine your soul. If you find yourself in a state of high-pressure work, that is your crucible. If you find yourself in the middle of a difficult relationship, that is your crucible. If you find yourself struggling with a personal challenge, that is your crucible. Do not try to move to a different room. Do not try to find a more comfortable space. The room you are in is the room you need. The heat you are feeling is the heat you need. Use it. Work with it. Let it burn away the impurities of your ego, the dross of your past conditioning, and the rigid, defensive structures that are preventing you from being fully present. This is a path of radical accountability. We are moving from the state of happening to us to the state of happening through us. We are realizing that we are not the pawns of our environment, but the conscious participants in our own evolution. Every interaction, every email, every conversation, and every moment of silence is a chance to practice. Every time you feel the heat, you have a choice. You can react or you can refine. You can burn or you can transmute. You can tighten or you can soften. You can build a wall or you can open a gate. Every moment is a moment of choice, and every choice is a step toward the gold. This is the alchemy of daily life. We must also cultivate the quality of patience. Not the patience of gritting our teeth and waiting for the ordeal to end, but the patience of the gardener who understands that the plant needs the season to grow. We are in a season of refinement. This is a process that requires time, commitment, and a great deal of self-compassion. There will be days when we feel like we are making progress, and there will be days when we feel like we are right back in the middle of the furnace, burning with the same old frustrations. This is normal. This is part of the process. The alchemist does not get angry at the furnace. He understands that the process is ongoing. Be kind to yourself as you walk this path. Recognize your efforts, celebrate your insights, and forgive your lapses. You are learning a new language, the language of the soul, and it takes time to become fluent. The final element of this alchemy is the quality of gratitude. Can you be grateful for the crucible? Can you look at the heat of your life and recognize it as a gift? Can you see that without this heat, you would still be the rigid, unaware, and defensive person you were before? Can you recognize that the very things you were trying to escape were the things that were most necessary for your evolution? When we reach this level of understanding, the heat no longer feels like a burden. It feels like a service. It feels like a necessary, supportive, and refining presence in our lives. We begin to approach the crucible with reverence, with gratitude, and with a deep, abiding respect for the process of our own becoming. This leads us to a state of profound inner equilibrium. We are moving toward a place where the inner and the outer are no longer in opposition. Our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions are beginning to align with the truth of the present moment. We are no longer saying one thing and doing another. We are no longer feeling one thing and projecting another. We are becoming a whole, integrated and harmonious being, and in this state, the friction of daily life begins to drop away. Not because the world has changed, but because we have stopped creating the friction that made it so difficult. We are no longer struggling with reality. We are flowing with it. We are the river, we are the stone, and we are the water that moves between them. We are in harmony with the process of our own existence. This equilibrium is the state of the golden heart. It is a heart that is completely open, completely compassionate, and completely at rest. It is a heart that has been through the fire and has come out on the other side, refined, purified, and ready to hold the entire world in its embrace. It is a heart that no longer needs to be protected, because it has realized that its true nature is invincible. It is a heart that no longer needs to be satisfied, because it has realized that it is already complete. This is the goal of our practice, the result of our alchemy, and the truth of our own inherent nature. We are nearing the end of this current descent. The furnace is still burning, but the temperature has changed. The heat is no longer a searing, destructive force. It is a warm, steady, and refining glow. It is the light of awareness that is now permeating every aspect of our lives. We have done the work, we have faced the heat, we have refined the metal, and we are now standing, not as the architects of our own pressure, but as the alchemists of our own beautiful and unfolding reality. The journey has been long, the fire has been intense, but the result, the gold of our own authentic self, is worth every single moment of the struggle. And so, we must ask ourselves as we step back into the world, how will we carry this gold? How will we bring this alchemy into our work, our relationships, and our daily mundane tasks? How will we continue to refine our presence, to deepen our awareness, and to stay in harmony with the flow? How will we hold the heat of the world without losing our cool? How will we keep our hearts open when the temptation to close them is so strong? How will we stay true to the gold when the pressure to be lead is so great? These are the questions that will guide our path forward, the questions that will keep us on the journey, and the questions that will remind us of the truth we have found here in the heart of the crucible. The answers are not in the words. The answers are in the practice. The answers are in the way you breathe, the way you listen, the way you speak, and the way you hold yourself in the face of the fire. The answers are in the choices you make, one after another, in the crucible of your daily life. And as you step out of this room, as you step back into the heat of your own existence, know that you are not alone. You are part of the vast, unfolding, and ever-refining whole. You are the gold. You are the alchemist, and the furnace is your home. What will you create in the next moment? What will you refine in the next breath? What will you become as the fire continues to burn? We are finished with the design. We are finished with the construction. We are finished with the frantic, exhausting, and ultimately futile labor of the builder. We are ready to embrace the life of the alchemist. We are ready to participate in the great unfolding mystery of our own becoming. We are ready to be the gold. And as we take this first, small step, as we move out of the crucible and back into the flow of our daily, noisy, and beautiful lives, we carry with us the steady, quiet, and radiant power of our own inner alchemy. The fire is burning, but we are the flame. The world is in motion, but we are the stillness at its heart. We are here, we are present, and we are ready for whatever comes next. As we conclude this part of our journey, feel the weight of what we have discussed settle into your consciousness. Let the realization of your own inherent gold be the final lingering thought as you prepare to move back into your life. You have the power to transform the heat. You have the power to refine the struggle. You have the power to become the light that you were always meant to be. The crucible is not a place of destruction, it is a place of refinement. And you, my friend, are the refinement. You are the gold. You are the proof that even in the middle of the fire, it is possible to find the steady, quiet, and beautiful reality of peace. The silence that now follows is not a silence of emptiness, but a silence of integration. It is the time for you to sit with what you have heard, to feel the resonance in your own life, and to begin the work of applying this alchemy to your own unique situation. There is no right way to do this. There is only the way that you do it. There is no perfect result. There is only the process. And the process is beautiful. The process is necessary, and the process is the path to your own authentic self. And as you sit here in the quiet, as you feel the presence of your own inner gold, ask yourself one final time, as you prepare to engage with the world once more, what is the single most difficult part of your life right now? And what would it be like to treat that not as an obstacle to be overcome, but as the very furnace you need to turn your lead into gold? We have arrived at the critical juncture where the scalpel of inquiry must touch the raw nerve of our own making. We have looked at the architecture of the rigid self and the physical toll of our constant, frantic maintenance. Now we must face the mechanism of our own suffering, the phenomenon of the second arrow. Imagine, if you will, the sharp, sudden sting of an unexpected event, the loss of a relationship, the blunt force of professional rejection, or the quiet, creeping realization that the path we have spent years constructing is leading us nowhere. This is the first arrow. It is the raw, unadorned reality of life, the inevitable friction that arises when our expectations collide with the fluid, unpredictable nature of existence. It is painful, yes, but it is also simple. It is a moment of impact, a singular point of data in the landscape of our lives. But then, the second arrow arrives, and this arrow is not thrown by the world, it is drawn, notched, and fired by our own hand. This is the arrow of commentary, the internal narrative that insists this should not have happened, the self-flagellation that asks why we were not smart enough to prevent it, and the desperate, frantic effort to build a fortress of reasons to explain away our vulnerability. We take the initial pain, and we multiply it by the weight of our own judgment. We tell ourselves that because we feel pain, we are failing. We tell ourselves that if we were more disciplined, more enlightened, or more optimized, we would be immune to such disturbances. This is the ultimate, most insidious trap of the modern ego. It uses the language of self-improvement to deepen the wounds of self-hatred. Consider the anatomy of this self-inflicted agony. When we feel that first surge of grief or disappointment, the mind immediately scrambles for an anchor. It wants to pin the event down, to label it, to categorize it as a catastrophe or a moral failing. We become the victim, the perpetrator, and the judge, all at once. We are running a feedback loop of misery, playing back the event in high definition, analyzing our own reactions, and projecting a future where this pain is permanent. We are not living in the event, we are living in the memory of the event, and the shadow of the fear of its return. This is the second arrow. It is the ego's desperate attempt to regain control by manufacturing a reality that is more rigid, more predictable, and more terrifying than the one that actually exists. The wisdom of the sages suggests that we are capable of enduring the first arrow, that the human organism is designed to feel, to process, and to release the impact of reality. But we are not designed to endure the second. The second arrow is a poison that seeps into the bloodstream of our awareness, turning a momentary challenge into a chronic condition of despair. We see this in the way we hold our identity as if it were a fragile piece of porcelain. We have convinced ourselves that if we are not the protagonists of a successful, upwardly mobile narrative, we are nothing. So, when the narrative hits a snag, when the story takes a turn we did not write, we feel that our very existence is being threatened. We do not see the event as a change in the weather, we see it as an indictment of our soul. To break this cycle, we must begin to treat the mind as a field of inquiry rather than a factory of judgment. We must learn to distinguish between the sensation of the experience and the story we weave around it. When the first arrow lands, when the sharp, cold reality of loss strikes, can we pause? Can we allow the sensation to exist without the immediate reflexive urge to label it as bad or wrong? This is the core of the practice. It is not about avoiding the pain. That is a fantasy of the architect. It is about removing the second arrow before it can lodge itself in our psyche. It is about the radical honesty of saying, "This hurts," and then simply letting it be without the extra exhausting labor of trying to fix it, deny it, or justify it. We have spent our lives trying to become something, and in the process, we have lost the ability to simply be. We are like travelers who are so obsessed with the destination that we refuse to acknowledge the landscape we are walking through, especially when that landscape is dark, rocky, or uninviting. We treat our own inner states as obstacles to be removed. We want the peace without the presence, the stillness without the surrender. But peace is not the absence of difficulty. It is the presence of awareness in the midst of it. It is the ability to stand in the center of the storm and recognize that while the wind is loud and the rain is cold, they are not us. They are just the elements moving through the field of our experience. This shift requires us to dismantle the very foundation of the architect's project. It requires us to admit that we are not the managers of our own lives. We are the witnesses. Think of the way a mirror reflects a mountain. The mountain may be jagged, it may be covered in snow, it may be hit by storms, but the mirror remains clear. It does not try to change the mountain. It does not try to smooth the edges or add a layer of warmth. It simply holds the image, and then, as the mountain changes with the passing of time, the reflection changes with it. The mirror is not stained by the image of the storm. It is not damaged by the height of the peaks. It is perfectly intact, perfectly still, because it has no investment in the image it reflects. We are that mirror, but we have become so enamored with the reflection that we have forgotten the glass. The second arrow is the story that the reflection is the truth. We see our pain in the mirror and we cry out because we think the glass itself is cracking. We see our failures, and we despair because we think we have lost our structural integrity. But the glass never cracks. The awareness that witnesses the pain is never in pain. This is the secret of our own nature. We are the vast, unconditioned space that allows all these things: joy, grief, success, failure to arise and pass away. When we start to live from this space, the second arrow loses its power. It can still land because we are still human, but it cannot penetrate the depths of our being because there is no longer a rigid, defensive ego to take the hit. We have become porous. We have become light. Consider the effort we put into maintaining the illusion of a solid self. It is an exhausting task, requiring constant vigilance, constant narration, and constant justification. We are always defending, always proving, always refining our position. But what if we were to simply drop the defense? What if we were to walk into the world with our palms open, not because we are naive, but because we have nothing left to hide? The architect spends so much time protecting the blueprint that he never notices the house is built on a shifting dune. The reality of impermanence is not a threat, it is our only true security. Because nothing stays the same, nothing is ever stuck. The pain you feel today is not the pain you will feel tomorrow, because the ground is constantly shifting beneath your feet. We often fear this movement, but it is the very essence of our freedom. If everything were solid, we would be trapped forever in our mistakes, in our identities, and in our histories. But because everything is in motion, we have the capacity to begin anew in every single breath. The second arrow is the attempt to freeze time, to fix the world into a shape that we can manage. But the world refuses to be fixed. And the more we fight that, the more we suffer. The real transformation begins when we stop fighting the nature of the river and start learning how to swim. It is not about effort, it is about alignment. It is about understanding that the flow is not happening to us, it is happening through us. We have arrived at a moment of profound, quiet clarity. The noise of the architect is fading. The frantic, grinding sound of the gears of performance is slowing down. For the first time, we can hear the silence that has been waiting underneath the chatter. This silence is not empty, it is full. It is the potential of everything that has not yet been built. The possibility of everything that has not yet been named. It is the space where our true selves, the selves that exist beyond the labels and the expectations, can finally emerge. We are moving toward a state where we no longer need to be the hero or the villain, the success or the failure. We are becoming the witness. We are becoming the space itself. Observe the way the breath enters the body. It does not ask permission. It does not check the status of our reputation. It just flows, filling the lungs, nourishing the tissues, and then exiting, leaving behind the carbon of our past. We are in every moment being breathed. We are in every moment being lived. If we could trust this process as much as we trust the simple biological act of breathing, our entire experience of life would transform. We would realize that the struggle we are engaged in is purely optional. We are voluntarily choosing the second arrow because we think it gives us meaning. We think that if we are not suffering, we are not living. But that is a lie that the ego tells itself to justify its own existence. The truth is much simpler and much more beautiful. Life is meant to be lived with a light touch. We are meant to experience the full spectrum of our humanity, the highs, the lows, the laughter, and the tears without needing to archive them, judge them, or build a career out of them. We are here to participate in the dance, not to choreograph it. When we stop trying to be the architects of our own experience, we discover that the universe has already provided the design. The design is the unfolding of the present moment, the constant, shifting, and exquisite movement of the world. And we are the only ones standing in our own way, clutching our blueprints, waiting for the building to be finished so we can finally start living. The structural integrity we seek is not found in the strength of our walls. It is found in the depth of our roots. When a tree is deeply rooted, it does not need to hold itself up. The earth holds it, and the more the wind blows, the deeper the roots grow. We are being tested, yes. We are being shaken, yes. But this is not meant to break us, it is meant to anchor us. It is meant to show us where we are still clutching, where we are still clinging, and where we are still refusing to let go. And in every point of friction there is an opportunity to relax, to soften, and to expand. We are becoming something else entirely, something that can hold the weight of reality without the need for armor, something that can witness the passing of our own lives with a sense of wonder rather than a sense of loss. We are reaching the end of this current phase of our descent into the truth. The architect is tired, the tools are heavy, the blueprints have blurred in the rain. It is time to set them down. It is time to walk out of the structure and into the open, vast and silent garden. There is no roof here, only the sky. There are no walls, only the horizon. There is no schedule, only the season. We are finally truly in the right place. We are finally truly ourselves, and in this vast, unscripted space, we find that the peace we have been searching for was never a destination to reach, but the very ground we were standing on all along. The journey from the closed, frantic chamber of the ego to the open, luminous field of the soul is not a long one. It is only as far as the next breath. It is as close as the awareness that is reading these words right now. The transition from the rigid, defended self to the fluid, witness self is not a sudden rupture, but a gradual, organic shedding. Like the snake that leaves behind its old, constrictive skin, we are simply outgrowing the structures that once protected us. We no longer need the thick, heavy walls of our past achievements to define our presence in the room. We no longer need the scaffold of our future anxieties to ensure our relevance. We are discovering that our value is not an earned asset, but an inherent quality, like the light of the sun or the scent of the rain. It is always there, waiting for the clouds of our own making to disperse. And as we continue to let go, as we continue to practice the art of simply noticing, we find that the world around us also begins to change, or perhaps it is we who have changed, and therefore the world looks different. The colors are sharper. The sounds are more distinct. The texture of our own existence feels more vibrant, more immediate. This is the quality of the unburdened life. It is not that the challenges have disappeared. The challenges are still there, the losses are still real, and the difficulties of being human are still present. But they no longer carry the weight of an identity. They are just events, passing through the space of our awareness like clouds through the sky. They do not leave a stain. They do not alter the fundamental, radiant core of who we are. We are beginning to understand what it means to be in the world but not of it. We are in the current, but we are not the current. We are the witness, the space, the silent, observing consciousness that remains when everything else has been stripped away. This brings us to the threshold of a new way of being, a way that is grounded in the reality of the present rather than the anticipation of the future. We are no longer trying to solve life. We are no longer trying to curate our experience into a collection of perfect, photogenic moments. We are allowing the raw, unfiltered truth of our lives to unfold, and we are finding that it is enough. It is more than enough. It is the only thing that could ever be enough. We are learning to hold the grief, to hold the joy, to hold the uncertainty, and to hold the hope all in the same, open and ungrasping palm. And in that act of holding, we find a structural integrity that no architect could ever dream of building. We are becoming as solid as the earth and as light as the wind. The path forward is not a climb, but a descent. It is a journey into the depth of our own humanity, into the quiet, dark and fertile soil where our true potential is waiting. We are moving away from the loud, bright and demanding world of the ego and into the soft, quiet and expansive world of the soul. We are finding that the less we need to be, the more we actually become. We are finding that the less we need to control, the more we are actually supported. We are moving from a state of performance to a state of presence, and in this movement, we are discovering a form of sovereignty that is absolute, unshakable, and completely our own. It is the sovereignty of the heart that has nothing to prove and everything to feel. As we stand here in this space of transition, let the realization sink deep into the marrow of your bones. You are not a project. You are not a product. You are not a set of metrics to be improved or a series of failures to be corrected. You are a process, a flowing, evolving, and radiant process of the universe experiencing itself through the unique lens of your consciousness. The very fact that you are here, that you are capable of feeling this, that you are capable of witnessing this, is the greatest miracle of all. You do not need to do anything to earn your place in this world. You already belong. The ground beneath you, the air around you, the light that touches your skin, they are all part of you, and you are part of them. The separation is the final illusion, the last lingering shadow of the architect's dream. We are ready to leave the ruins of the garden behind. We are ready to stop looking at the cracks in the walls and start looking at the sky above the roof. The light is coming in, through every break, through every imperfection, through every place where we thought we were broken. And that is where the beauty is. That is where the truth is. That is where we are finally truly alive. The second arrow has been pulled out. The hand that held the bow has been relaxed. The arm that held the shield has been rested. We are standing empty-handed, empty-hearted, and completely, utterly free. And in this freedom, we find the courage to walk forward, not into a future that we have engineered, but into a life that we are finally, truly ready to inhabit. We are the architects of nothing, and in that, we are the masters of everything. The journey is just beginning, the space is waiting, and you are at last home. We feel the weight of these words settling into the room, grounding us in the reality of our shared potential. Each of us, in our own way, has been carrying a second arrow that was never ours to bear, a burden of self-judgment that has blinded us to the simple, stark beauty of our own lives. To release it is to step out of the shadows of the past and into the blinding light of the present, where we can finally see clearly that we have never been incomplete. We are whole. We have always been whole. And the journey into that wholeness is not about finding something new, it is about realizing that we have been, all along, the very thing we were looking for. As we turn our attention toward the future, we do so not with the frantic energy of a builder, but with the steady, quiet confidence of one who knows that the foundation is already laid. We know that the storms will come, they always do. But we also know that the house of our presence is built of something far stronger than stone. It is built of awareness, it is built of compassion, and it is built of the understanding that we are the sky, not the weather. We are the witness, not the event. We are the space, not the noise. And in that simple, radical realization, we find the freedom that the architect could never grasp. We are free to be, free to grow, and free to play our part in the grand unfolding symphony of the human experience. The path is not a line, but a circle, a constant, beautiful return to the truth of our own existence. We will stray, of course. We will pick up the second arrow again. We will start to build walls. We will start to perform for the critics of our own imagination. That is the human way. That is the habit of the ego. But the difference now is that we will know. We will recognize the sting of the arrow. We will feel the tightness of the wall. And we will catch ourselves in the act of building. And in that moment of recognition, we will have the power to stop. We will have the grace to let go. We will have the wisdom to breathe. We will have the courage to return to the garden, again and again, as many times as it takes, until the garden becomes the only home we know. Look at your life now, not through the lens of what you have achieved, but through the lens of what you have allowed to grow. Look at the people around you, not as characters in your own narrative, but as fellow travelers in the vast unfolding mystery. Look at the challenges you face, not as obstacles to be overcome, but as the friction that polishes the stone of your character. Everything is fuel for the garden. Everything is part of the unfolding. Everything is, in its own beautiful and sometimes tragic way, exactly what it needs to be. And you, in the midst of it all, are the gardener of your own soul, the witness of your own unfolding, and the master of your own quiet and steady presence. There is a peace that passes understanding, a peace that is not the absence of the world, but the presence of the self in the heart of the world. It is the peace of the witness who has nothing to prove, nothing to defend, and nothing to lose. It is the peace of the gardener who knows that the harvest is not the goal, but the tending is the love. It is the peace of the traveler who has finally realized that the journey has no end, and that the only true destination is the ground beneath their feet. And as you walk forward, let this peace be your compass. Let it guide your steps, let it shape your words, and let it inform your presence in the world. You are the peace you have been searching for, and you are at last ready to be it. The silence that fills the room now is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of the truth. It is the truth of your own authentic nature, echoing in the space between your thoughts, in the rhythm of your breath, and in the beating of your heart. Carry this truth with you, hold it close, and let it be the light that leads you through the darkest corners of your own human experience. You are not a machine, not a project, not a performance. You are a miracle of existence, a singular, fleeting, and precious note in the symphony of the cosmos. And you are, in this moment, exactly where you need to be. The journey has been long, the lessons have been hard, but the truth is simple, and it is here, waiting for you to claim it. You are the garden, you are the gardener, you are the space, you are the witness, and you are, quite simply, enough. Let the weight of the second arrow drop to the earth. Let the walls of your fortress dissolve into the light of the morning, and let yourself be moved by the beauty of the life that is waiting to be lived. There is no one to impress, no one to defeat, and no one to convince. There is only the truth of who you are, and the truth is beautiful, it is resilient, and it is entirely, utterly, and finally free. Walk into the world as that, live in the world as that. Be the truth you have found, and let the rest fall away, like the petals of a flower that has completed its cycle, leaving behind the seeds of the next great and beautiful unfolding. The air is still, the light is clear, and the path is open. The ruins of the architect have been left behind, and the garden is lush with the possibilities of the present. You are standing in the center of your own life, and for the first time, the center is not a fixed point, but a wide open field of awareness. You are free to move, free to change, free to grow, and free to simply be. You are the master of your own unfolding destiny, and your destiny is not written in the stars, but in the choices you make, breath by breath, heart by heart, moment by moment. You are the master of the art of presence, and your life is the art you are creating. What will you choose to plant in the soil of your soul today? What will you choose to tend, and what will you choose to let go? The power is in your hands, the wisdom is in your heart, and the truth is in your awareness. You are the one who decides what to hold, what to release, and how to walk through the world. And as you step out of this room, as you step out of this conversation, as you step out of the old, rigid identity that no longer fits, remember that the garden is yours, and the garden is waiting. It has been waiting for your return, it has been waiting for your care, and it has been waiting for your presence. You are home, you are the garden, and you are at last ready to bloom. The final question that remains is not one that requires an answer, but one that requires a life. It is the question that will guide your every step, that will ground your every action, and that will remind you of the truth you have found here in the silence. It is a question that you must ask yourself every time the world starts to pull you away, every time the architect starts to build, and every time the second arrow starts to fly. When the world is at its loudest, when the pressure is at its peak, and when the desire to control becomes a physical ache in your chest if you were to let go of the need to be anything other than what you are. Right here, right now, in all your beautiful, broken, and human perfection, what is the life that would finally truly be left to live? We are moving now into the bedrock of this work, the point where the insights we have gathered shift from being mere thoughts into the living tissue of our daily existence. We have acknowledged the architect of our past defenses. We have felt the anatomy of our resistance, and we have begun to see the second arrow for the fiction it truly is. Now we must cultivate the discipline to remain in this open, unscripted field, even when the old habits of the ego come clawing at the gates, begging us to build, to justify, and to define ourselves once more. This is not a project of adding new knowledge, it is a project of subtraction, of stripping away the layers of commentary that prevent us from seeing the world as it truly is. We begin by practicing the art of somatic noticing, a way of training the mind to return to the body, for the body is the only place where the present moment can ever be truly felt. Consider how we spend most of our waking hours. We are lost in a landscape of future scenarios and past regrets. Our awareness tethered to the glow of screens, the chatter of social expectation, and the frantic pace of a life that is measured in outcomes rather than experiences. To break this rhythm, we must first learn to anchor ourselves. When you feel that familiar rise of tension, the tightening in your chest, the sudden, shallow breath that signals the arrival of the second arrow, do not try to push it away. Instead, treat it as a signal, a bell ringing in the cathedral of your own being. Pause. In that moment of pause, direct your attention not to the story your mind is telling, but to the raw, physical sensation in your body. Where is the tightness? What is its texture? Is it a weight, a heat, a cold, a vibration? By simply observing the sensation without naming it, without judging it, and without trying to fix it, you begin to deprive the second arrow of its fuel. You are learning to inhabit the pain without becoming the victim of it. This is the practice of somatic stillness. It is the ability to sit with the discomfort of being human and to recognize that the discomfort itself is not a sign of failure, but a sign of life. As you practice this, you will notice that the sensations are not static. They are like weather patterns, constantly shifting, moving, and dissolving. If you allow them to be, if you do not fight to hold on to them or push them away, they will eventually move through you, leaving behind a profound, quiet clarity. This is the structural integrity we spoke of earlier. It is the capacity to hold the turbulence of life without being moved by it. It is the strength of the tree that bends in the wind, not because it is weak, but because it is rooted in the deep, unmoving earth of the present. The next step in our discipline is the practice of intentional subtraction. Throughout your day, you are bombarded by information, by tasks, by expectations, and by the relentless pressure to be more, to do more, and to have more. We are like a house that has been expanded beyond its original capacity, its walls cracking under the weight of too many additions. We must begin to prune. We must begin to ask ourselves in every moment, what is truly necessary for our peace of mind, and what is merely a burden we have agreed to carry. This is not about leaving our responsibilities behind, it is about changing our relationship to them. It is about performing our work with a light touch, knowing that our worth is not tied to the result, but to the quality of our presence in the process. When you approach a task, can you do it with your whole attention, without the constant background noise of worry about the outcome? Can you work with the grace of a gardener who plants the seed and tends to the soil, but who does not demand that the plant grow according to an arbitrary, human schedule? This leads us to the practice of the open palm. We spend so much of our lives with our fists clenched, trying to hold on to the people we love, the status we have achieved, and the identities we have carefully crafted. We are terrified that if we open our hands, we will lose everything. But consider what happens when we hold on to something too tightly. The hand becomes exhausted, the grip becomes painful, and the object we are trying to protect is stifled. By opening our hands, we are not rejecting the world, we are choosing to interact with it as a participant rather than a possessor. We are acknowledging that everything in this world, the joys, the sorrows, the successes and the failures, is a temporary guest. We are learning to welcome them when they arrive and to let them depart when it is their time, without trying to anchor them to our own fragile ego structure. As you move through your day, practice this in the small moments. When you receive a critique, instead of building a wall of defense, take a breath and notice the feeling of the second arrow trying to form the urge to explain, to blame, to justify. Just notice it. And then intentionally open your palm, both physically and metaphorically, and let the comment pass through you like the wind. When you feel a surge of pride in an achievement, notice that too. Recognize it for what it is, a fleeting, pleasant sensation that has no permanence, and let it go, so that you do not become dependent on the next rush of validation. You are training the mind to be like the air, which accommodates everything but holds on to nothing. This discipline requires a radical commitment to honesty. We are so used to lying to ourselves, to painting our lives in colors that we think others want to see, that we have lost the ability to speak the truth even to our own hearts. We must begin to look at our inner life with the same clarity and lack of judgment that a scientist uses to observe a laboratory specimen. When you feel jealousy, admit it. When you feel fear, acknowledge it. When you feel joy, own it. Do not suppress these feelings, do not try to curate them into something more socially acceptable. By seeing them clearly, by naming them without judgment, you take away their power to haunt you. You are no longer the one being acted upon by these emotions, you are the one observing them from the vantage point of your own sovereign consciousness. The practice of intentional silence is perhaps the most challenging, yet the most rewarding of all. In a world of constant, artificial noise, silence is a revolutionary act. It is the act of stepping out of the flow of content and into the flow of awareness. Every day, find a moment, even if it is only 10 minutes, to sit in true, unadorned silence. Do not fill this space with podcasts, music, or the endless chatter of your own thoughts. Just sit. Observe the way the mind tries to fill the space, the way it grabs onto memories, plans, and anxieties as if they were life rafts. Simply watch the mind do its work, and keep coming back, again and again, to the feeling of your breath, the feeling of your weight on the chair, the feeling of the space in the room. This is the laboratory of the soul. This is where you learn that the silence is not empty, but full of the presence of your true self, waiting for you to notice it. We are, in this practice, retraining the nervous system. We are teaching the body that it is safe to be in the present moment, even when that moment is not perfect, even when it is not what we expected. This is not an overnight transformation. It is a slow, steady, and beautiful process of coming home to ourselves. It is like the process of carving a sculpture out of marble. You do not add to the stone to create the form, you remove the excess, the parts that do not belong, until the truth of the piece is revealed. We are removing the layers of conditioned behavior, the armor of our defenses, and the stories that we have told ourselves for so long that we have mistaken them for reality. We are revealing the essence of our own unscripted life. As you engage in this practice, remember that the goal is not to become a perfect human being. There is no such thing. The goal is to become a fully human being, one who is capable of feeling everything, one who is capable of witnessing everything, and one who is not afraid of the fluidity of life. We are learning that the instability we fear is actually the source of our creative potential. If we were solid, we would be static, unable to change or grow. Because we are fluid, we are capable of becoming anything. We are the water that takes the shape of the vessel, the wind that moves through the forest, the light that shines through the prism. We are the witness to our own unfolding, and that is a task of infinite complexity and infinite grace. There will be days when this practice feels impossible. There will be days when the architect within you will rise up and demand to be in control, when the second arrow will hit its mark with such force that you will find yourself lost in a sea of your own making. Do not be discouraged by this. The fact that you notice your own struggle is itself a sign of progress. The practice is not about avoiding the struggle. It is about how you relate to it when it arrives. Can you look at your own suffering with the compassion of a friend? Can you look at your own mistakes with the curiosity of a learner? When you fall, can you stand up with a smile, acknowledging that this too is part of the path and that you are learning something valuable about the nature of your own resistance? This is how we build the structural integrity of the heart. We don't build it by never experiencing pain. We build it by experiencing pain and choosing not to let it define us. We don't build it by never failing. We build it by failing and recognizing that our worth remains untouched, because our worth is not something that can be gained or lost. It is something that we are. We are the source of our own peace, the silent, observing consciousness that has been there all along, beneath the layers of our own frantic building. And as we continue to practice, as we continue to let go, we find that the world itself seems to shift. The people around us become less like obstacles and more like fellow travelers. The events of our lives become less like threats and more like opportunities to witness the unfolding of the truth. We are beginning to see the interconnectedness of all things. We are beginning to see that the barrier we thought existed between ourselves and the world was an illusion, a wall we built to keep ourselves safe, but which only succeeded in keeping us alone. When we drop the wall, we realize that we are part of the vast, intricate, and beautiful web of existence. We are part of the movement, part of the flow, part of the process. We have a responsibility to act with kindness, with awareness, and with integrity, not because it is a moral requirement, but because it is the natural expression of a heart that is no longer closed. When we recognize our own suffering, we recognize the suffering of others, and our natural response is not to judge, but to reach out, to offer a hand, to be a source of stability in a world that is constantly changing. This is the ultimate, quiet revolution of the spirit. It starts in the small, unadorned corners of our own consciousness, and it ripples out into every aspect of our lives. It changes the way we speak to our loved ones, the way we perform our work, the way we engage with the challenges of our time, and the way we hold the weight of our own existence. It is not a path of escape, but a path of deep, radical engagement. We are fully in the world, fully in the pain, fully in the joy, but we are not lost in it. We are the space in which it all occurs, and in that space we are free. We are free to be kind, free to be curious, free to be ourselves, and free to wonder at the magnificent, unfolding mystery of being alive. As we continue on this path, remember that the most important tool you have is your own awareness. It is not something you need to develop, it is something you simply need to notice. It is already here. It is the awareness that is reading these words right now. It is the awareness that feels the weight of the air, the rhythm of your heart, and the warmth of the light. Whenever you feel lost, whenever you feel overwhelmed, whenever you feel the grip of the old rigid identity taking hold again, just stop, take a breath. Come back to the awareness that is here, beneath all the noise, beneath all the effort, beneath all the stories. This is your home. This is your foundation. This is the truth that you can always return to, no matter what happens, no matter where you are, no matter how much the landscape of your life may have changed. The discipline of the mind is the path to the freedom of the soul. By training our attention, by softening our defenses, and by embracing the reality of the present moment, we are transforming ourselves from beings who are driven by the fear of change into beings who are empowered by the reality of impermanence. We are learning that the only true security is the ability to adapt, to let go, and to begin again, over and over and over, as many times as it takes. This is the dance of the living. This is the symphony of the soul. This is the truth that sets us free. And as we walk this path together, we find that the loneliness we once felt is gone, replaced by a profound, quiet sense of connection to all that is. We are not alone. We are part of the whole, and the whole is moving, breathing, and unfolding through us, in every single, precious and fleeting moment. The process of becoming this witness self is not a finite endeavor. It is a lifelong commitment to the truth of your own being. There will be moments of profound insight where everything will feel clear and effortless, and there will be moments of deep confusion where you will wonder if you have made any progress at all. Both are part of the path. Both are lessons. Both are part of the unfolding. The key is to keep coming back, to keep practicing the art of noticing, and to keep opening your heart, even when it feels like a risk. It is a risk, of course. It is the risk of being truly, fully, and unapologetically alive. But it is the only way to experience the fullness of the human potential. It is the only way to taste the nectar of the present moment. As we look toward the final horizon of this journey, consider what it would mean to live your life entirely from this place of presence. What if you stopped waiting for the perfect conditions to be happy? What if you stopped waiting for the perfect version of yourself to emerge? What if you accepted, with your whole heart, that you are enough, right here, right now, with all your jagged edges, all your broken pieces, and all your beautiful, unfolding potential? This is the core of the teaching. You are not a project. You are not a product. You are not a collection of parts to be managed and improved. You are the sacred, living expression of the universe, and you are worthy of your own love and attention, exactly as you are. This is the foundation upon which you can build a life of profound meaning and peace. It is a life that is not measured by the accumulation of external success, but by the quality of your inner connection. It is a life that is not defined by the height of your achievements, but by the depth of your presence. It is a life that is not secured by the strength of your walls, but by the openness of your heart. And as you walk forward, let this be your compass, let this be your guide, and let this be your quiet, unwavering strength. You are home. You have always been home. And the journey, beautiful as it is, was only ever a way of helping you realize that you never had to leave to be exactly who you were always meant to be. The quiet that settles within you now is not a symptom of boredom or withdrawal. It is the settling of the dust in a room that has been stirred by 1,000 different stories. It is the clarity that follows a storm when the winds have died down and the air is finally still. Observe this state. Note how your breath has changed, how your shoulders have relaxed, how the frantic, high-pitched anxiety that once characterized your days has been replaced by a low, steady hum of presence. This is your natural state. This is who you are when you are not working so hard to be something else. This is the truth of your own inner garden before the architect arrived and decided that it needed to be improved. Take this with you as you move back into the world. You do not have to announce it. You do not have to explain it. You do not even have to name it. Just let it be the ground upon which you stand. When the world demands your attention, give it, but give it with a sense of detachment, knowing that it is not the totality of your reality. When the world demands your labor, perform it, but perform it with a sense of grace, knowing that it is not the source of your worth. And when the world presents you with the inevitable challenges, the losses, and the difficulties of being human, meet them with the quiet, open courage of one who knows that the second arrow cannot harm the heart that has already let go of the need to be anything other than what it is. The path is before you. It is vast, it is unscripted, and it is entirely your own. You have the tools, you have the understanding, and you have the inner ground that can sustain you. The rest is simply the act of living, of showing up, and of being present for the unfolding of your own singular and beautiful story. There is no right way to do this. There is only the way that you are doing it, and that is more than enough. You are the architect of your own silence, the gardener of your own peace, and the witness to your own infinite reality, and that is all that you have ever needed to be. As the layers of effort continue to fall away, you might find that the world itself becomes a mirror for your own inner freedom. You see the movement of the clouds not as a disruption, but as a dance. You hear the sounds of the street not as a cacophony, but as a living, shifting, and vibrant tapestry. You feel the pulse of your own life not as a ticking clock, but as a gentle, rhythmic reminder that you are here, you are participating, and you are part of an unfolding that is as ancient as the stars and as new as this very breath. This is the gift of the practice. This is the return to the source. This is the awakening that was always hidden in plain sight, obscured only by our own intense and unnecessary effort to be something else. We are, in these final moments of our shared contemplation, allowing the residue of our old stories to fade into the background. The past, with all its grievances and triumphs, is no longer the map by which we navigate. The future, with all its anxieties and aspirations, is no longer the destination for which we strive. We are fully in the present, held by the gravity of the earth and lifted by the lightness of our own unburdened spirit. We are the confluence of all that has passed and all that is to come, meeting in the quiet, singular point of the now. And in this confluence we find the strength to act, the wisdom to observe, and the compassion to love, without hesitation, without reservation, and without the need for a final result. The practice of noticing, of returning, and of softening is a practice that can be carried into every facet of your life. It is not confined to the moments when you are sitting in silence or reflecting on these words. It is a practice for the grocery store, for the boardroom, for the bedroom, and for the quiet walk home at the end of the day. It is a practice for the moments of profound conflict and the moments of profound connection. It is a practice of bringing your whole, authentic self to the encounter and trusting that your presence, your steady, grounded, and compassionate presence is enough. You do not need to perform. You do not need to persuade. You do not need to prove. You only need to show up, and in showing up, you offer the world the greatest gift you could possibly give. Your own, fully integrated and conscious humanity. As you move through the world, let this be the signal you rely on. The return of the breath, the softening of the jaw, the opening of the hands, and the quiet, steady awareness that you are here. This is the anchor that holds you when the world feels too big, too fast, and too demanding. This is the compass that guides you when you feel lost in the shuffle of your own complex life. This is the truth that remains when all the stories have been told and all the performances have been given. You are here, you are alive, you are the witness to your own unfolding, and that is the only life you need to live. May you carry this practice with you, like a secret seed of silence in the middle of a noisy garden, and may it grow, may it bloom, and may it offer you the shade and the sustenance you need in every single moment of your life. You are the gardener, and you are the garden, and you are the silent, witnessing space that holds them both. And in that you are complete, you are free, and you are always beginning again. The journey is never finished, because the journey is not a path to a place, it is the unfolding of the spirit, and as the spirit unfolds, as it opens, as it breathes, it becomes the world itself. You are the world waking up to its own beautiful and infinite reality. The final lingering thought for you is this. The transformation you have been seeking was never about becoming someone new, but about revealing the one who has been there, waiting, all along. You have done the work of peeling back the layers, and what remains is the truth of your own, authentic self, our self, that is not afraid, not defined, and not separate. A self that is, quite simply, the space where life can happen with grace, with ease, and with a profound quiet. and enduring joy. Walk into your day with this awareness. Walk into your life with this heart. And remember, in every breath, in every step, and in every encounter, that you are the master of your own internal landscape, and you are always, always home. We have reached the final shore of this long descent, a place not marked by the arrival at a destination, but by the quiet realization that the journey itself was the transformation. We stand now in a state of harmonic dissonance, a state where the person is no longer a rigid, fragile gear in a machine that must break in the face of the storm, but an expansive system that absorbs the friction, benefits from the heat, and remains deeply anchored in the fertile, dark soil of reality. This is the luminous clarity that follows the storm, the state of mind where the world is seen exactly as it is, stripped of the distorting lenses of fear, projection, and the desperate need for external calibration. We are no longer the architects of our own imprisonment. We have set down the heavy tools of performance and stepped into the open, sun-drenched courtyard of the present. Think of the person you were when we first began this journey, the one who held the breath high in the chest, the one who walked through the world with shoulders braced against an unseen weight, the one who believed that peace was something to be earned through the relentless, exhausting labor of maintaining a perfect, impenetrable life. That person was not broken, but they were deeply, profoundly misaligned. They were caught in the loop of the second arrow, believing that the pain of being human was a personal failing that required a more complex structure to hide. But look at you now. The breath has settled into the belly, the jaw has softened, the shoulders have dropped, and there is a spaciousness in your awareness that was absent before. You have not changed who you are, you have simply removed the layers of conditioned noise that obscured the truth of your own natural and inherently resilient state. This quiet sovereignty is not an achievement to be framed on a wall or a title to be broadcast to the world. It is a quiet, inner leadership that requires no external applause because it is completely self-sustaining. It is the capacity to walk through the fire of daily life and remain cool, not because you are cold or indifferent, but because you have realized that the fire cannot burn the essence of who you are. You have discovered that you are the space, the light, and the wind that moves through the forest, and that none of these things can ever be diminished by the changing of the seasons. You have learned that your worth is not a currency to be traded for the approval of others, but an inherent radiant quality that belongs to you by the very virtue of your existence. Reflect for a moment on the transient nature of all structures. Everything you see, everything you have ever built, every version of yourself you have ever inhabited is moving, shifting, and changing. This is not a cause for despair, it is the ultimate relief. If nothing is permanent, then nothing is ever stuck. The failures of your past do not define you, for they have already passed away. The anxieties of your future do not hold you, for they have not yet been born. You are left with only this, the singular, fleeting and precious moment, the only place where life actually happens. To inhabit this place with an open palm is the highest form of courage. It is the wisdom to know that life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be witnessed, a song to be played, and a movement to be felt. We leave this space not as people who have finished their work, but as people who have finally begun to live. The world will still be loud, the challenges will still arise, and the tides of grief and joy will continue to wash over the landscape of your life. But you will no longer be swept away by them. You will be the earth that holds the tide, the mirror that reflects the light, and the witness that remains perfectly still in the heart of the movement. You have the structural integrity to hold the weight of reality, and you have the luminous clarity to see the beauty hidden within the cracks. You are no longer the builder, you are the building, the garden, and the sky all at once. There is a final, lingering question that remains, a question that is not meant to be answered by the mind, but to be carried into the marrow of your bones as you return to your day. It is a question that will echo in the silence, long after these words have faded. A question that will pull you back to your center whenever you feel the urge to pick up the tools of the architect again. When the noise of the world rises, when the pressure to perform feels heavy, and when the desire to control the unfolding of your life becomes almost unbearable, ask yourself, if you were to stop building this very moment, if you were to lay down the blueprint, the expectations, and the armor of the past, and simply exist as the vast, unscripted, and beautiful witness of your own life, what is the truth that is left behind? And how would it feel to finally, truly, walk into the world as that?